Hello, it's me. In this video it'll be how to set up a hatchling leopard gecko cage. So this is just after you've had out the egg, and this is what you put them in straight away. So the first thing you want to get is a container. You don't want anything too big. You want a nice small tub. I use simply a Tupperware tub. It's a food tub. It's from Wilko's and it cost me £2. And the rest of the things were free, so it's quite cheap. First thing you want to do is, obviously, as this is a food tub, it's going to be airtight, so put air holes in it. There's an air hole there, there's some going around, and the lid is covered in them there. So that's pretty much, it's roughly, you can see roughly what it is. That's about 5 centimeters, it's about 10 centimeters up by 20 by 20, if that, but it doesn't matter. This will house 2 to 4, I think I had about 5 in here at the max at one time. This is the method I'd done all my hatchlings and I haven't had one die yet. So the first thing you're going to need is your tub, obviously. Then as a substrate, you can either have nothing, but baby leopard geckos do make quite a bit of mess, so I would recommend tissue paper. So kitchen cloth, kitchen paper. I'm just using blue paper as it's the stuff I've got. I wouldn't recommend any loose substrates like sand or anything, calci sand or anything to put at the bottom of these, as baby leopard geckos are like little hoovers and they just go along and pick up anything. And it's chipmunks again making all this noise. Anyway, so just put tissue down or nothing. It's either tissue or nothing pretty much. Okay. Next thing, as like the big leopard geckos, they need a place to hide. I simply get a light bulb box and cut a hole in it. That in there will hold all your leopard geckos. I only had, after you get like 2 clutches, you might want to put another one in there, but there's pretty much no need. I simply just put a hole in, and I also, I'll just open it. Can you see there's a bit of blue tissue paper in there? That's because I also do when I clean them is I just remove the bit of tissue and then I put a new bit of tissue in, so I get to keep the same box throughout the whole 3 weeks that I keep my babies for, because I only keep mine up to 3 weeks and then I sell them on, unless because I only had normals last year, so hopefully this year I'm going for colours, and if I get any weird little colours coming out I'm keeping them. Well, it depends on which the pet shop offers me, but I think I'm going to keep them all. And anyway, so that just goes there in the corner, and they go in and they sit in there. You're going to need a humidity box, and this is really easy to make as waxworm tubs. In some places I've seen that these are green, which I've never seen a green one in my pet shop, but if they're green it doesn't matter. This is just simply a waxworm tub, which it's just a little round container, and you get the lid on like that, and it looks normally like that. All I've done is I've just cut a notch in. I've then really carefully now, if you don't have I used a lighter, so if you're young, get your parents to do it. Sounds like something off Blue Peter. Here's one I made earlier, I had a stick back plastic. Anyway, get a lighter and just go around the edge. You don't want to set it on fire, you just want to quickly singe the edges like that, and it makes it so it's not sharp. You don't want to make it so it sets on fire, but have a bucket of water ready if you like that. But you just want to make it smooth so there's no rough edges, and it works quite good as it's now all nice and smooth and round. But anyway, then you want to put the lid down, get a bit of tissue paper and just curl it up, and you want to make like this rounded dome thing. You put that in the middle of it, and then you put the lid over the top of that, and it's a lot easier with 2 hands. There you go. Straighten the tissue paper out, and you get something that looks like that. You want to push the lid down so they can get in, and then just put that to one side now. Put it on the hot end where that is. Then what you want to get is 2 lids. I use Oasis bottles as they are perfect for this job. You do not want anything too deep as they will drown. Some people might even say put a pebble in here. If I have a runt of a litter like out of a clutch of eggs, which is a really small one, I would put a pebble in there. But if you get a normal sized baby, they should cope with that. But if you get like a really small one, you can either use a smaller tub, but I use Oasis bottle lids as they are perfect. And you need 2. One would be filled with water, one will be filled with calcium, and they should always have calcium, because as the babies they're growing, and you only want the pure calcium. You don't want the vitamins and minerals, because that's what you dust them with. So just can't actually zoom in. That's just pure calcium, and that just gets put in there. The other thing that I use is a simple syringe. You can buy these from Boots for like £2, but I've got loads of these around here. You don't want the ones with needles, and you don't want to find them off the street. But if you go to Boots or health food things, because when you're working with reptiles, they're good to have around. And what I do then is I just fill it up, and then you just like squirt it in there, and then that fills it up. I'm not going to put water in just in case I'm going to make a mess. But then you want to fill this up so this is wet. You don't want it soaking, as there is holes at the bottom. You just want the tissue moist in there. It should all clump up together, but you know if you put too much in, because then you start seeing a line come around here where it's spreading. Don't worry if it does. Just stop putting water in, and the heat from your heat source will dry it out, and it'll be okay. So you just leave that there. Just make sure that doesn't dry out, and they always have water. You then want to put the lid on, obviously. Lid on like that. You get a heat mat, and you want to put it there, kind of. The temperatures are just the same as the adults, but you put that there. I don't put mine on a heat mat, because I found out the temperature on top of my female red-tailed boa is perfect, so I don't have to go out and get a heat mat. I just simply put this whole tub on top of the female boa cage, and it stays lovely and warm, and they're fine, and they run around. Then after 3 weeks I do it. If you are thinking of breeding them, please look at my video on the breeding database and get involved, which I want loads of people to get involved in that, hopefully. So it's in my videos, just have a look at that. A few things about things. When you put your leopard geckos in, when they look at them, they are really tiny, they're about 2 inches long. They look really cute. They're evil. They're evil little runny around things. If you go anywhere near them, they'll hiss at you, they'll bite, they flick up, and they look nothing like their parents when they're babies. They will look, if you've got like a nice dotty female, it'll come out as a stripy thing. It'll just come out as a blobby stripy thing. They do change colours and patterns quite quickly, and by the 3rd week you should know what you've got. It depends if you incubate them to the temperature, but they're pretty much impossible to sex at the first few hatchlings. Some people might know how to do it, but I normally wait for 3 weeks and then it's easier. But they're only about that big, and they'll just run around. If you go to put your hand in, they'll normally scatter, and they'll hiss at you, and they'll make this yappy noise, and they'll try and flick stuff at you. So if they're by the water, they'll flick the water everywhere. If they're by the calcium dish, they'll just flick calcium at the dust everywhere. So it's pretty much best just to chuck food in and leave them for the 3 weeks, and then start handling them after then. You don't feed them straight away, so you don't want to put any food in when you put them in. You're waiting to see any sign of shed, because normally on the 3rd day they will then shed. Then you start feeding them. So if you had one leopard gecko in here, one little baby, you put one little cricket, and the crickets are about the same size as a pinhead. They're the smallest crickets you can get. You don't want to try and feed them anything else than crickets, and you want to dust your crickets with calcium, even though they've got a calci dish, and the vitamins and minerals, as they're really important now to get as much vitamins and minerals. So you want gut-loaded crickets with dusted, and then you feed them to them. Put one in, leave it overnight. If you come in the next morning and the one's gone, next day try 2, you cover it over, and then by the next morning you come in, if that's gone, and then you keep going every so often. If it doesn't eat the other one, take it out and then try it again on the number it stopped at. So if you put 3 in, it's only at 2 of them, there was still one in them in the morning. Next day give it 2, and then the next day try it on 3 again. And you just want to keep going until you can get up to 10 crickets, and then you can start feeding them stuff. I haven't had actually that many problems with them not eating, so they should be okay. And the time's going to run out soon. So if you've got any more questions, just get in touch.